the public votes next week, and so this is an opportunity for anyone who wants to come and speak to us. And it looks like Alan is signed up.
I signed up because nobody was here, and I'm concerned about that because I think it's partly because of the timing. This is a regular board meeting. The custom is to meet at 7, and most people expect it at 7. And so holding a meeting at 6:30, especially the public hearing, I noticed that even other candidates are not here, some of whom have been coming. So I urge you again to rethink how you do meeting scheduling and to think about the public and to take into account what's important about the meeting, and if you're going to make a change, to make it, to make a big noise about it so that it's more people understand and know about it. The newspaper, makes a point of it, etc. Otherwise, your effort at communication is not going very well. That's my encouragement for the next.
Thanks, Al. Go ahead, guys. Jay.
So this was sent to us is this already gone to the printer, or were we looking for any comments on that?
That's already gone.
Okay, so I don't have a comment then to change anything. I would be curious, however, to see, I thought we were at 2 point, yeah, anyway, it says we're at 2.26, or,
139.
where's that? What page is it?
Talking about levy increase?
Yeah.
13?
Yep. 13. Top pages.
So,
Yeah, I thought I saw it.
what's going on
Oh, you're reading that.
on page 10?
Go ahead.
Well, he's reading that. Dr. Brown, this isn't on the website yet. It needs to be up. It needs to get on the web. And your capital reserve proposition is nowhere to be found on the website either. So that needs to get up there on the website, or it won't get voted on either. So we need to get both of those on, if we could. Thank you.
Anything else, Jay? And Shirley, this is the public hearing portion on the budget, and certainly you can. Glad to hear from you, Shirley.
So I wonder what's on page 10. It says it's 2.88.
Where are you?
Right there.
Contingency.
That's to the right, isn't it?
Yes, contingency.
2.88?
Is the increase in the budget.
It's
It's a budget.
So that's only our spending increase?
Right.
Just happens to be pretty close to...
The 2.39, they're about the same.
Okay, thanks.
So we'll get those things.
Get those up if you would.
Before the meeting's over.
You might want to get those on the first page, since it's just till now into the 17th.
Right, exactly, and shouldn't have to click to it too far, right?
Yeah, hopefully one click and they can find it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, that would be good.
Okay. You're good, Shirley? You want to speak?
Oh,
Oh, please do.
I wrote it down so it would be under 2 minutes. The results of the annual TST BOCES Creative Writing Contest were emailed to us this afternoon. I would like to report that in the high school category, grades 9 through 12, Ithaca High School took 36 of the 83 awards given, or 43%. If you add LACS's 5 wins, that raises our district to 49.3% of high school awards, almost half. At the middle school level, grades 6 through 8, Boynton, DeWitt, and LACS received 32 of the 92 awards, or 37%. But at the elementary level, which includes only grades 4 and 5 in the contest, our district took 31 of the 36 awards, or 84%. Over the 3 years I have served as English department chair, I am very happy to report that the anonymity of the process gives everyone an equal opportunity. It's a very inclusive contest. As chair of a department of 17 people, I teach only 2 classes with a co-teacher, Mary Moore. Both of them are Regents classes. 3 of my students won a prize. In the senior category, there was a multitude of wins by Alexis Lord and Rebecca Gergeley's students, none of whom are in AP classes. In addition, many ethnic backgrounds are represented. For example, of my 3 students who won, one is a Caucasian, one is a Korean, and one is an African American. I did not plan it that way, it just happened. I did require everyone to enter. As anyone in the department could testify, I certainly am not unique. William Asklar students for the 3rd year in a row took every prize in the very, very brief short story category for grades 9 through 11. We have a strong English department that is working very hard to give everyone an excellent education.
Thanks, Charlotte. That's great.
Yeah.
For those who just came in, anyone wish to comment, anything, gentlemen?
On the budget.
On the budgets, anything? Okay. And we can check later, frankly, during reprise, for anyone that comes in later, there's certainly an opportunity to speak later. And we really have heard from public and staff and our student reps who just walked in the room. So if you wish to speak, certainly had a great event last night, Aviv. Why don't you come up? Certainly come on up.
Yeah.
Sit in your normal spot.
Come on up.
We're rolling right into our regular board meeting, so you're up, guys.
Alrighty.
And it was a great event last night, Aviv, and looking pretty good in the suit, Aviv.
Oh, thank you. I'm gonna wear it tonight. I just.
Pretty sharp, right? But please go ahead.
Alright. Well, actually, first on our list was the candidate forum last night. For those who don't know, it was a time for youth to come together and review all the candidates running for this office. And I think the turnout was great. A lot of students, a lot of not students, and we made a decision that, and I personally feel like all of the 5 candidates running were equally as qualified and all had great ideas, and I'd really be happy for any of them to have this office. So I won't really say too much more about that, but just thank you for giving us the opportunity to do that.
In specific ACS news, trips are starting to begin. I know that my trip goes next Wednesday. We're going to the Aquasas Freedom School, so I'm super excited. The French trip is leaving Tuesday, so that's another trip. We've all done as much fundraising as we can. I think we'll probably have to come back and do a lot of it also, but we're all really excited to go.
Alright, so as many people may or may not know, when there was all the rain in the past couple weeks, the gym actually flooded and part of the floor buckled. And so that was sad for a lot of us. Part of our gym is kind of roped off now, but we thank everyone for their timely response to the issue, and we're going to work to get it back to full use as soon as possible. So thank you and for your continued support with that.
And then last,
Had not heard that.
Oh, you had not heard that?
No.
Oh,
no. Sorry, go
Come in the
ahead.
back.
Well, it's...
Feel free to ask questions.
Go ahead.
well, tomorrow night at the site-based council meeting at ACS, we're going to be talking about the sports eligibility packet, and I think it'll be a very interesting conversation. So, yeah, that's all from ACS.
Helen, go ahead.
There's not that much actually going on at IHS right now. It's kind of quieting down. APs are just ending this. They'll be ended at the end of this week. So everyone has been really nice about. Teachers have been really accommodating and everything, and everyone in the staff has been working really hard to make the APs go smoothly, because it's always kind of a struggle to be taken out of other classes and all the coordination. But that's going pretty well. We had our jazz concert, which went really well. I don't know how many of you attended, but I thought it was great. And one thing that is kind of on the mind of at least a lot of upperclassmen is in the mail recently we received a suggestion for a contract between parents and students for responsible and safe, I would say, partying as the year draws to a close. And I think one of the things that students felt about this contract that we were sent, I don't know if you guys know much about it, we were sent a contract that we were supposed to sign with our parents saying that we would be responsible, not drink, not do drugs, all that sort of stuff around prom and towards the end of the year, not attend unsupervised parties and things like that. And I think one of the biggest things that would be more helpful than a contract like that would be that the school helps sponsor, provide options for students like after prom or after some things so that they would have alternatives and safer alternatives so that they were more encouraged to make those responsible choices instead of signing a contract with their parents.
Any responses?
Yeah. Did it come in the door?
It did come in through the door. As far as I know, I'm not.
Did not first.
What?
Did not first.
And
But
I assume Paul will be able to bring us up to date at facilities on Thursday.
Sandbags, Judy, sandbags.
well, I mean, we were very concerned about the last time.
Right.
It was right up to the door.
Right.
Right. Go ahead, Brett.
East Hill or Brown?
What?
East Hill or Brown?
Brown.
Okay, great. Congratulations.
And I have no problem with Brown. I just...
That's great.
Congratulations, Helen. Next week, there is at the high school, the next Tuesday night, probably one of the last opportunities to see the lacrosse team before they head off to the sectionals. It's a really tremendous team. They are playing Corning, the combined Corning team. Due to their budgetary problems down in Corning, they've combined all their athletics. They probably will soon combine their district. East and West are coming together. Great opportunity to see the lacrosse team at 7 o'clock. Go vote, come down to the game. Wednesday, I think, that's the orchestra concert at 8 o'clock. So that's kind of next week. You can celebrate the vote by going to the orchestra on Wednesday night. Anything else, Helen, next week, other than you seniors don't have anything else to do? You're just kind of hanging out?
Oh, we have plenty to do, and there's lots of projects in our classes.
Well, we are looking forward to another great end of the school year at Ithaca High School. Last few years, there's been really a big effort to have a positive experience for all the kids right at the end of the year, and so that seemingly that's been put into place. And so whether it's been the field day the last few years, I assume that's going to happen again.
It's still happening, and
Right.
I mean, it's been good for students, I think. It's a positive experience.
Great. Go ahead.
I think it was last Tuesday or last Wednesday, Josh Bornstein, Elder Harris, and myself all had the opportunity to attend the last of a multi-part series between parents and caregivers from Fall Creek and Beverly J. Martin Elementary School who engaged in their own book reading of Where Do We Go From Here and discussion, and we got to sort of participate a little bit, but more importantly hear about some of the work they've been doing and how to bridge those two communities, given the fact that a good number of students who live in BJM area attend Fall Creek School, and it was so great work to Leslie Setlock and Leslie Schultz. I know there's other people involved as well, but that was a good space to be in last time. Good things to see, some things that our parents are doing and our teachers and our caregivers as well.
Anything else, Josh?
So report out from two committees here. First, the ad hoc budget reform committee meets tomorrow night here at 5, and the agenda is pretty simple. It's going to be looking back over this year and how's the work gone and what have the successes been, and then looking forward what ought to come, maybe recommending to the board should it be a permanent committee or a standing committee or citizens commission, something like that anyway. So that's a discussion we're expecting here tomorrow night. And then as EILC board liaison here, I'm going to just report to you on EILC from this month. 3 things came up. HR, Human Resources, the Equity Report Card, and the board committees and working groups. So in HR stuff, there's a recommendation that as selection of the Bell Sherman principal goes forward, important to keep that school community well informed and in the loop. Second, a recommendation to reach out to staff of color who were hired last year to let them know that the district wants and intends to keep them employed in here as part of our retention. Let's be conscious about that. Third piece is that the group action has been collecting stories and anecdotes from a variety of faculty and staff members, and has some important information to contribute about that around issues of hostility and so forth in the district. Around the equity report card, discuss some highlights on the report card. The folks noted that the report card illustrates Ithaca's commitment to closing the achievement gap. Could be used as a good recruiting tool. Second, important to figure out how to use that data to hold ourselves accountable. Third, it's hard to read all that aggregated data in a way to look at future performance. It's hard to use that way. Fourth, we need to pay attention to the resources that students have when they enter kindergarten. So that was another piece. And finally, Dr. Brown talked with us about the strategic visioning process and the working groups, the project working groups that are going forward, and a couple comments come out of that. First, if strategic visioning is replacing the prior efforts on strategic planning and the different committees and so forth, it would be good to say right up front, clearly, okay, that old model is gone, and here's the new one coming. I think there's still some confusion around that. Second piece is a desire to kind of simplify the process. There's sort of like a number of different committees all out there. I think it's confusing, which are standing committees of the board, which are going to be these project teams, that project management focus that you've introduced us to. So just to get really clear about what work is going on where, right? So that folks can know where to spend the process. And that being said, folks, especially if work is going to be going on in late spring and summer, want a good sense of what that schedule is going to be, because folks like a lot of lead time to be prepared. So that's it from, if anybody else from the ILC, if I missed anything.
I do have a question. You said that Action was compiling a list. Are they going to present it or give us any feedback?
I think they might. I'm just looking at my notes here. I think they would have asked. I think they're just saying we have this information. And systems, their recommendation, systems need to be put in place to change the climate. Well, we have our culture goal around climate, right? They're looking to go beyond a priority like that to actual systems. And recognizing that racism, of course, doesn't exist simply within the district, but also is an issue in the larger community as well.
Anyone else right now? We can move on to the consent agenda. Anyone wish to?
I'll move the
thank
consent agenda is printed.
Seconded. There you go, thank you. Any questions regarding the items? All in favor? That's everyone. So, Dr. Brown, Superintendent's report.
I do promise that this item on the agenda won't always be me promoting an opportunity where I'm speaking. But I only have one item tonight, and that's an opportunity where I'm speaking that I wish for you to know about. But this involves young people, and a significant number, hopefully. As part of the Local Favorites series that Sinanopolis does, I'm going to be hosting a movie next Thursday night. And I chose the movie More Than a Game. And I hosted a movie similar to this in my community in Virginia. And we had about 200 young people show up. And it was probably the best feel-good thing I've been a part of over the last 2 years, because it's a very inspirational movie, and it speaks to things so much bigger than basketball. It talks about the power of building positive relationships with adults and your friends growing up, and it talks about being a positive influence on your community. And it does so many great things that I'm hoping that many of our young people will have an opportunity to see. We're working with Sinanopolis to get some free tickets. So again, I would love for you to be there. I've already talked to the Cornell basketball team, and they're going to bring several of the basketball players down along with the head coach. He'll be there as well. So there'll be an opportunity before and after the film to have some discussion around some of the lessons from the film. So again, an opportunity where I'm hosting something, but hopefully this will be more about our young people getting a positive message and engaging in some conversations around basketball, because whenever I'm in the school, over the past 2 weeks, it's been all about NBA playoff basketball, and particularly LeBron James. So what better time to have this opportunity than late or mid-May? So that's all that.
How big is, I've never been, but how?
I'm understanding that there are two.
The Browns about 6'8".
I know about that.
Oh, yeah, these are the guys. What, you talking about the theaters?
Yeah.
I hear
Yes.
that one can hold 100 and the other can hold about 50.
There's 4 different theaters, I'm not sure which one.
Yeah, and I'm hoping to have them all if we can pull
Oh,
this
so
off.
it can be all shown at the
If
same
we can
time.
pull this off over the next week, so, just so you know.
And the tickets are 10 and 15.
Again, we're in conversation with some folks there about the price right now, so I don't have much more than that. I'll send you some updates by email.
So you're hoping for young folks to show up and not us like
And
old
you
folks
to be there to help.
who have bad knees and all that. But,
Yeah, no choice,
You're
please.
gonna make
Oh,
pizza
Sean
and
is
that, right?
planning to show up.
Yeah, no
I'm
plans.
just trying to wait over here, just let it pass.
Is Sean going to show us some backup movies?
No, I don't think so.
I got scar pictures whenever you want, Judy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sounds good. So it's the 19th.
Next Thursday night.
Okay.
7 o'clock.
Next Thursday night, 7 o'clock. Multiple screens, perhaps?
Hopefully.
One theater or multiple?
Hopefully, we don't know if we sell the place out.
Okay,
And
all right.
we have lines around the building. So.
Okay, good. Thanks, Dr. Brown. And nothing else?
That's all for me.
Okay. On to school district business. This is the appointment of whole site managers.
I'll move item 6A as presented the agenda except for the title where I would like the word poll spelled correctly.
And the initial done.
Ah, they're reversed, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's a dyslexic title.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was,
We've noted those changes.
Thank you. I was being dyslexic.
have you got those edits? Judy was bothering me, but we'll give it to Sean.
Maybe that isn't.
Just throw that, Sean.
With the edits as stated, all in favor? That's everyone, and where are we now? On to work session topics, Dr. Brown?
During that last one.
That's the first.
It's part of the, that's part of the same.
Yeah, okay.
And this is just an informational item, and it's concerning the upcoming work sessions. We have 2 work sessions. One will be on the May 24th meeting, and the other is in June 28th. And I wish to just share with you what we're thinking as far as what to do on those nights for the time we got together on those 2 particular days. In the meantime, at the first meeting in June, I'm hoping to bring to you a comprehensive report related to the superintendent's transition plan. I can tell you that much of what I'm hearing from community members, staff members, has been around technology. And believe me, I'm not leading the conversation or leading questions, but people are coming to me with some concerns they have around where we are with technology, our plan for it. And I have questions as well. So what I'm putting in front of you tonight is that we have our first work session around a bit of a SWOT analysis or an understanding of where we are district-wide around technology. What we envision that meeting looking like is maybe potentially in the board packet, an update of sorts or report that may give you some background information related to the budget or the SWOT analysis, give you some idea from what we're thinking. Because right now, Mr. Pliss is going through some documents, and he's talking to staff, so he's going to put together a comprehensive report, and I'm hoping to put it in your report packet. But this night will be reserved for us to speak to some highlights in that report, the good, bad, and the ugly, and then also do some breakout work. So again, the background information may include budget, inventory, the org chart, which has changed much even since I've been here. So I mean, I think it's time for us to update you and then our community, and our staff, because many of our staff members who are talking to me have no clue about how we're organized to meet our technology needs in the district. And again, that SWOT analysis hopefully will be part of the packet. But I see the majority of our time together on the 28th being some breakout groups, and we're still working through the format, maybe breakout groups or 3 separate parts of the agenda with all being together here in this one room. But these are key themes that I've seen that I think we may need to do some updates or have some conversation at this table about. One being educational technology. Where are we with some of the tools we're using? Which tools do we have out there do we have any tools outdated right now that are technology related that are helping us move the work forward? Secondly, service delivery and infrastructure, everything from our network, our wireless network, our back end, you name it. I think there needs to be some conversations and some essential questions to be answered or asked around our infrastructure, on how we deliver our services, a work order analysis. I'm hoping that one of the breakout groups will be around a conversation. And again, the work session format would be us bringing multiple folks to the table, not just myself and Mr. Flip. We'll be bringing folks on the field, teachers, principals, some great fixed folks in the field to come have a conversation with you about where we are. And then finally, our information management systems, school tools, our lack of instructional management system, our website, where we are. I mean, we've made some adjustments to our website, but there's much more work to do. So coming to you with some voices from the field and the community around what they would like to see from the website and some of our information management systems. So this is a meaty conversation, and I think before we can move forward and get into some of the summer work, and again, the work sessions are to inform you of the work of the district before we make some decisions related to some things. And I know we need to make some decisions related to our approach to technology implementation in the district. And I do wish to put out, yes, this will be one of our first work sessions, but again, I don't want us to be pigeonholed into, or me, myself, being pigeonholed into being a technology superintendent. We're talking about teaching and learning in such a deep level now, but again, this technology piece is rising to the forefront in every conversation I'm having. And going into the summer, into the summer, and as we need to make some decisions, and some adjustments, and some shifts, we need to have this deep conversation around where we are. So before I get to the second work session, which will be June 28th, I think, late June, 24th, but that's it, May 28th and June 24th. Before I talk about June, comments, reactions to us having a work session around this technology piece right now, some things that you may wish to see that I don't have listed here, or some adjustments.
Where we at on board docs?
That will be part of the information management piece there.
I'm a little uneasy about breakout sessions.
And I wanted to ask if we can have it all done as one large group. In the breakout session, we could have done those and then everyone come back and report out, but I'm sensing that this group likes to be together and we do it all, right?
Or rehash the same conversation 3 or 4 times. That'd be the concern.
Thank you for that.
I can hear the admin team in the back just looking.
Yeah. We're going to be managing some of those breakout sessions.
Breakout sessions just have it's a history kind of thing.
And it may be good to have us all here so that this can be live for everyone else.
Are we going to start with cell phones for Rob?
That's a conversation around tools and how we support educational technology and the device that's the conversation.
I don't think there's anything wrong with being hands-free. I mean, I
think
really
you just jump past the cell phone and get you an iPad and work it that way.
Get an extra large because it's things
extra large iPad with an external keyboard.
Right. And I would point out that I am in front of a computer all day, and so I have a sense of freedom when I don't have to do that. So it's not that I am adverse to technology, but what's the purpose and why, how it's going to integrate with everything else that we do and help us get where Sean wants to go with his question.
The part of these breakout sessions where I imagine you want us to actually do something, right? So that these become work sessions as well. Is that sort of the idea?
Yeah, the work session. I envision us, as part of the packet, having some essential questions to guide the conversation for these individual, I won't say breakout sessions, but for these individual parts of the meeting. Those essential questions, I see us answering and you asking additional questions or getting information from us. I mean, that's the work. Understanding what's happening, asking additional questions, and getting a good feel for where we are.
And so for all these sessions, is there going to be something you're going to be hoping to accomplish, right? Some sort of goal that we're going to try to achieve, or decisions have to be made, or are we just going to have the conversation, right?
The decision won't be made at this meeting, but let's say at a future meeting, if we're talking about our wireless infrastructure, and if there's some decisions that the board may need to make about what we do to upgrade, that may be something. But this is more about capacity building and informing the board of where we are and our need, and more about our direction as it is right now, so that when we do come to some decisions later on, we'll be informed.
I wonder if, one of the values to me of a breakout session is having more voices in the conversation. right? Like, when we do our standing committees, HR, finance, and so forth, folks from the community come and join the conversation, even if they're not the final decision makers. And I wonder if you all thought about these breakout sessions in that way, as the possibility of folks who otherwise sit and listen also being part of that conversation, even if they're not, well, we're ultimately
I
deciding.
anticipated this question in the fact that we may not want to do breakouts. I see us having a circle in this room, and the folks that are coming in from the community, or the experts that may come to the table, will be sitting at the table with us all, having a conversation. So we'll have that breakout session feel, but it would just be with us all at the table together.
So the work session is board and community working together to address these questions,
Yeah.
whether it's in a big group or small
Big
groups.
group or small group.
You talked a little bit about getting a report to us ahead of time from Mike Bliss and others. I think that's key, for me at least, and it would be most useful if I can kind of be educated so I could at least frame the argument of what, especially when you talk about education on technology, what does that look like? I mean, I have my own views about it, but they're not really based on, any hard evidence or anything like that. So it'll be really helpful for me when I come at this, that I'm not just taking it in, and I might be able to engage and say, well, what about this option? Or what does it look like if we don't do it? Or what does it look like if we do it this way? Or something like that.
The background information along with the essential questions that will guide the conversation will be
exactly.
And if the essential questions, why not put those things up on the web so that anybody who's going to join the conversation, we've all had the same opportunity to prepare.
We'll play with the technology one in May, and that is going to be reached. So June, we're hoping to engage in a work session format around what's going to happen this summer. We're going to be pretty busy this summer, and so it will be important for us to have a conversation with you and to inform you and to get some feedback from you about what will happen then. Again, these are our hedgehog concepts, and the work that's going to happen this summer is going to be around those three key things: teaching and learning framework, implementation of our professional learning communities, and our development of human capital. The breakout sessions we're hoping to have during this session, work session topic will be summer school. We're working, Dr. Myers is leading a group of folks who are pulling together what our summer school program is going to look like, with the additional funds that the board is looking to put back in the budget for us to build that program. So we will have a plan and a program to put in front of you to inform you about what we're looking to do this summer. Professional Development Institute, we have about 2 weeks set aside this summer for staff to come to the table, and there are going to be some large group opportunities and some smaller group opportunities, but we see the threats being PLC, the Teaching and Learning Framework, and our human capital work. And it'd be a bit of a conference. Instead of sending folks all over the country to get staff development, we're going to have our own staff development workshop here, in-house, and it's going to span 2 weeks or so. So what that looks like, the workshops that are going to be offered, the goals we have for that opportunity, and the SMART goals and the deliverables we're hoping to come out of that opportunity, we'll put in front of you at that June workshop. And then finally, the administrative retreat. We've begun work on that 3-day retreat. And again, right now we're working to build that 3-day agenda around relationships, rigor, and relevance. So what does that look like for administrators? If we're focusing on relationship building, if we're focusing on establishing rigor in all of our classrooms, and if we're looking at relevance, what administrative technologies, what administrative work should our principals be expected to know, understand, be able to replicate in their schools? So again, putting in front of you, doing that part of that work session, what our administrators are going to be engaged in, particularly this summer, will be the work. So the essential questions will come out again. We may send you the agenda that we have already developed as part of the package, but the questions I'm hoping with us all to engage in some conversations so that you will also know. How does that one sound for the June workshop as we go in, as we're getting ready to go into the summer, which I hope it'll be 70+ degrees when we say summer. Keep hope. That's why I put that picture there. You see my picture?
You didn't notice that, yeah.
They don't have sand on Cuba.
I know that there are no beaches here. I can understand why.
There's shore, then there's water. That's what yeah.
That whole glacial thing.
Yeah,
Just looks stone.
too many rocks.
All those things look great. The parts I thought maybe we'd be hearing about tonight also were since you introduced us to us last time, I'm not sure where the strategic visioning, whatever we're calling that, comes in, and also where I think Janet Rasco-Strable said last week that the inclusion committee starts on the 31st of this month. So
that was my last lab. The other topics, and then we put those other topics up there. I mean, work sessions around PLC inclusion, strategic planning may happen, but we know we have, well, we may not have it scheduled, but we will be having a board workshop, a board development session in June or July. And we were thinking that at that time we would determine the schedule for the year related to work sessions. That would allow us to know what's going to happen and get staff ready and prepared for that. So we're hoping that we can have that discussion after we get through these initial 2 work session topics, that this summer when we come together as part of our retreat, we determine what we would do going forward.
So maybe I misunderstood. I thought I was hearing last week that you were hoping to have the strategic visioning done by the end of the summer. Was I wrong about that?
The entire process? No, we will begin the process. Well, we've begun the process. We'll do much work this summer, but it won't be done until next fall. Late fall.
I got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, I did hear it wrong.
I apologize.
No, it's fine.
Apply for January.
Yeah, it'll be January when we're done.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
If you got that laid out in some way to share?
Yes, we have a website developed, and is it on our website, the calendar of events? And we took the feedback from the last meeting, and we incorporated some of those adjustments into the calendar.
Other questions, comments? Dr. Myers? So, I can't. Ooh. Go ahead, Liz.
If you go to administration, student services, all of the strategic visioning information is up there. The PowerPoint presentation is revamped, and then all of the work that we did soliciting your feedback is up there as well. Okay.
Are there dates and future things in there too?
The timeline is revamped based on the conversation, but specific dates,
Months?
months are there, yes.
Okay.
And that's for the strategic planning. Right, which is separate from
these work sessions.
The work sessions. And these work sessions, again, are going to occur monthly, be a part of our regular meeting schedule. We typically do meet throughout the summer, as far as I remember.
Oh, yeah.
We've been busy over the last few summers. We've been building and tearing down, building back up, so there's been a lot of work over the last few summers, a lot of work by our staff, getting schools emptied and then ready for September 1st again. So we're pretty used to having active summers, Dr. Brown. So just as background for you, Dr. Brown.
We don't have meetings on the calendar yet for July and August. You may want to think about getting those on the calendar now.
Right. So we can.
We wait till elections over.
All right.
Well,
next week.
Because we'll be needing to get cases scheduled before, so yeah, we'll coordinate that.
I know who you call it.
Those folks who actually take vacations in the summer and leave Ithaca.
Yeah, go to Florida.
He's got a retreat, he's got other things.
So the schedule's coming, and we'll know when we're expected to show up and do this work, and which we will gladly do, Dr. Brown. Anything else?
I would just like to say, and this is not meant to be funny,
Okay.
on the first one, we were going to talk about technology. I'm the lowest person on the totem pole, even lower. And so, yes, thank you.
We're going to be very clear.
Yes.
Yeah. What you do have is a deep understanding of teaching and learning. So whatever we talk about here will be attaching the technology pieces to that.
Okay.
And we need to
Is there
understand
some, like, book or pamphlet that would have the terms that I don't know?
It's only online, so you can't. You probably
Could you get me a copy?
That is helpful.
It's good.
To me, that we need to have some definitions of some of the
There's
words.
got to be a book somewhere about this, right?
Yes.
So when we
That's
say
great, Jim.
things like network and wireless infrastructure, do those resonate with you?
Yeah, but I don't know how you do wireless. infrastructure.
Yeah, we need to work,
Yeah.
pull this together.
That's
Background knowledge.
Yes. Well, I mean, if you could tell me where to go.
No,
do the point-to-point stuff instead of the, sound moves different ways. And Dr. Brown, it should be pointed out that technology came to the forefront, not really because obviously it's an issue that we've been dealing with for quite a while, whether it was do we have enough computers, do we have even a network that will support computers that we have, or what is the right amount of computers in the classroom, and all these questions, but it really came to the forefront because if there is something that we need to do in this district to support or have an active network that actually will support some technology that we may want to bring in the classroom in the future, that's something that process needs to start. And if there is something that we need to consider, as we are doing construction at the high school, so that's one of the reasons why it came to the forefront and why we're going to talk about this issue and get as much information as we can early on rather than later, because you're not going to be able to ramp up a technology infrastructure like that. So it's not you, Dr. Brown, it's the fact that there's probably a lot of issues in this district that have not been resolved yet regarding our technology needs, and it's been a long time. But we are, go ahead.
Well, I'll give a good personal example. I was in court the other day, and I was coming back from Watkins Glen, and I had to send a document, and I had my computer, and I was passing Enfield. And I was like, oh, great, I have the wireless from the school district. I'll pull up to Enfield, open my computer, send my document, and I'm searching for a wireless.
No.
And there's nothing, so if that's part of the conversation, I think.
Exactly. I think
we can't have a school that
right, that's what we've been talking about. Susan, did you want to chime in?
It's a form of a statement question. I know that I speak to a lot of teachers who willingly accept the idea and are actually looking forward to having access to some of the tools needed to include technology in their teaching technique. And some who are quite technologically advanced who know but are unable to do it because their classroom doesn't have access to wireless or even internet wired, or in their room it doesn't work, but in the room next door it does. So as we address this, aside from the actual aspects of software, we have to look at some of the hardware issues we have, so that I'm not quite sure how you will go about finding the information, exactly what Seth said, which is in Enfield you can't use a cell phone and there's no wireless, it's all, you got to plug in with an Ethernet, but in some rooms it doesn't work. And in the high school, you can be in a classroom and in the back corner because of the poles and the structure and there's no signal, but you go by the front door and you can do it. So these are issues that are real issues when you're teaching, especially if you're a teacher that's mobile and has to go from room to room, where in one class you have a smart board, someplace else you have no access, or the machine you have, the actual physical machine, doesn't handle the programs that you know how to use and want the kids to use. How will you get that data? Because there are two parts of the conversation: where you want to go, how you want to get there, and also the information of what you have and how it will be used. Because what you're using as an iPad has no USB port. And how do people print from that? Or how can kids get information on that? And what will we do to be sure that all the kids who have one can all use it in the same way, not depending on if you're the first floor or third floor?
Thank you, Susan. In iPads, you can print from them. And
Yeah.
I guess the approach to having a one-to-one device like this would mean we're moving away from printing anyway. But I mean,
I got it.
that's another
Paperless stuff.
conversation. But
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying, I'm asking how you're going to get that information.
and I have the information, and we've done the analysis already. So
Okay.
we're talking about networks and infrastructure. And if we can't give you that information right now, we haven't done our job. So we have that information. That will be part of that breakout session. So providing you the data and information is just the first part of the conversation. We're going to give that to you as background information. The conversation about where we go next and why would we have an investment in or reallocation in having every classroom be outfitted in a way we can have multiple devices. That's the conversation about teaching and learning I'm hoping we can have.
Okay.
Not the stuff. Because the very technical people can come to the table and fix the stuff. I think we need to figure out what we want to do with the stuff and then have that guide the other conversation.
And teachers will be part of this at some point?
But yes, it'll be at the table, including you. We just don't know yet.
Okay, I'm in.
When we have the discussion, will you have the ability to talk the dollars involved in some of this?
We have some quotes already.
Dr. Brown, I think,
Done with that one.
I think we're done with work session topics, and I think we made the points, and on to policies, I believe, correct?
Sure, we can try to do policies in a somewhat expedient manner here. First, I think I want to call Bill Bryant up for come join us real quick. The first policy in the docket for our first reading is policy 4316. It's the alternative physical education policy. I'm sorry, Dr. Myers as well. The alternative physical education program for students in grades 10 through 12. And the policy is being recommended for its first reading for deletion, and I'll let the good folks here explain a little bit more and give the rationale for why we're recommending this. This is already and so folks know this has already gone through the policy committee. The policy committee has voted to bring it to you as a first reading, so we're already okay with it. But we thought it'd be wise to just give some background information for those who may want some more.
That's basically just what I was going to say. No, it's okay. Just a little more background information. You may remember either being on the board or just being aware of the fact that we, under the leadership of Ms. Evelyn and Mr. Josh Chase, there was a significant look at the physical education program in the Ithaca City School District. And one of the very minor components of that plan involved speaking to the alternative the removal of the alternative physical education program policy. So you all really did vote on that already to have this removed, but we just wanted to give you a little more background information so you're aware of what it entails.
Having been the director for health and PE in that place for a number of years, this particular policy came around in 1984 and had been in place since '84, but really hadn't been implemented a lot in my time here with the district. There was a few years stretch that I was getting a lot of attention to it by parents and outside groups. If you look at the policy, as I mentioned to the policy committee last week, there were two things that really have stuck out with the policy that I was getting resistance from the outside agencies. One is they have to come up with a comprehensive plan of what they're going to be doing. And once, and that's stated in the policy, and once I would say that to the outside agency, they really wanted to know, they didn't want to spend the time to put a comprehensive plan together for us. And the other piece that was really critical was, and I'm sure that they had it, but we just never could receive it from them, is they needed to submit a certificate of insurance to us. And so, again, personally myself, those were the two real key issues there. And, you know, if you look at physical education, it's a lot more than PE curriculum is more than just fitness. There's skills that are being taught, there's the essential understandings there are concepts being taught. With the new state standards, we have, I think we have the best PE curriculum in the state of New York. That's my own personal feeling. But, you know, we're looking to revise that now because the state standards, since we did it back in '99, new state standards were just coming out, and the performance indicators that the state standards have there, they have to be met, and they're not going to be met with an alternative PE program by the outside groups. So, I'd be more than glad to hopefully answer any questions that I could for you, but that's the rationale or the justification behind Dr. Myers and myself coming before you tonight to look to delete the alternative PE program.
Two quick additions, if I may. One, that this policy has not actually been used in the past couple of years, right? Or
yeah, no, not to my knowledge. It hasn't been, I know for at least probably the last 3 or 4 years that I've had.
Sure. And secondly, probably most importantly, the other thought process was is that as we go forward with the Health and Wellness Center, that it actually gives us far more flexibility to do some of this work in-house. And that's part of the goal, right, to invest in our young folks with the facilities that we have here. And so this was the recommendation for a first read.
just one more tiny bit of background along with what Leslie was saying about Connie and Josh having brought us that plan. Is that all went for Curriculum and Instruction Committee a year or so ago, and we talked about this piece back then. That it was time to do away with this piece.
I was going to ask Joe if LACS had alternative PE plans.
We do. I was just texting my colleague across the room there to maybe, she's having that question. This has an impact for us. We don't have all the teacher resource or facility resource, although we have a nice new gym. But we do have a history of students.
I thought you did, as I recall from my previous.
Yeah.
So how does it? Dr. Myers first.
I think I can squelch it. This policy specifically states to Ithaca High School.
Oh, okay.
It does.
I second.
Okay.
It does say.
So is there a policy for LACS that's out there, I think?
No, there isn't. This policy, whenever it was written, was specific to Ithaca High School.
So what are they doing
Which day?
in LACS?
Well, Coach sees her every day, but do we want to get into what they're doing at LACS, or shall we?
I'll recap how this went when we talked about this in curriculum instruction. Was that LACS had a lot of ways for students to earn academic credit for experiences outside the four walls of the school, right? So this athletic credit would fit in with that, or phys ed credit would fit in with that, in that general framework. So without wanting to take on that whole thing, right? It seemed this was a very sort of IHS specific kind of concern and issue. So that's how we talked about that.
It may behoove to put together a one-page analysis of how PE is working at LACS and send out in the SUPS letter on Friday as just an update to you on what's happening.
I'm still for deleting this.
Did you want to? Well, we'll get to that. So just so I'm clear, we're deleting the policy. We're deleting the policy?
Both 4316 and 4316P, which is the procedures that go along with it.
Okay. I just want to be clear on what we were doing. We're not replacing that policy at this time. Okay.
So you see more parts when we hear the table? Is that what we said?
Yeah. Yep. So
He's moved it for the committee, I'll second it.
I move policy 4316 and 4316P for deletion.
Second.
Second, and we will table for the next meeting for the second reading. Correct.
Fantastic. My apologies, we should just follow yes, that one's all set, but I'm going to probably need you in a minute, so don't go too far through because of kind of those. If we want to jump
take them out of order?
If we can take them out of order, that's fine by people.
Sure.
So then real quick, then the interscholastic athletic eligibility, which I don't know how much of a role you played in that, and there may not be any questions. This was a policy that was being bandied about for a couple months. The last issue was the conversion between letter grades and numerical grades. And so all the new policy in front of you says is that rather than using F's and D's, it uses numerical values to indicate the F's and D's. But beyond that, it's the same conversation we've already been through. This is probably its fifth reading here in front of you. But we like to be efficient, if not thorough.
There, over time, there was changes in language here and there, and regarding some of the level 1s, level 2s. But right now, we're at the finished product, right?
And I'd say in our conversations with Ed Redmond and with Seth Peacock and a couple other folks, at least the conversation was that the policy in its spirit was going to be well received by the athletic folks. And that this was not a policy they were seeing as being an additional responsibility or burden, but much more importantly about leveraging the relationships that they have with young folks to increase academic success. And so it was a solid conversation we had last go around.
I know, and Wendy spoke about it, that Thursday night we're discussing this at LACS. And so does this apply to LACS? And if it does, how are we going to do the grades, which is...
Precisely. Please.
Sorry, that's exactly what we're going to talk about because we do have such a different way, whether or not classes are going to be an indicator, whether or not a teacher recommendation is going to be an indicator. So stuff like along that lines, we're going to definitely be talking about. So.
Okay, so I don't feel comfortable until they have their section.
Well, you should feel comfortable, and here's why.
Oh, okay.
Because part of what we're discussing is that the long grind and bureaucracy of the policy wheel takes such a long period of time that for us waiting for ACS to have conversations was going to mean that we'd be doing this sometime next year, right? And not waiting for ACS. It's the same thing for our committee. So the idea was to pass the policy and then to amend it as ACS was able to have some conversations. There's no guarantee that even after Thursday's conversation that there's any sort of settlement. It may be an additional conversation that takes place after that as well. And so the idea meaning to give ACS the time and the flexibility to work out the nuances given the fact that it does operate in a different system than the high school does. But to not let the policy not be enacted, to get the policy enacted and then we'll work on ACS afterwards.
As long as we have that.
Was that diplomatic enough, Joe, to walk that
I was just
line?
mentioning that clearly you have a history working at ECS, so you know what you speak.
I know it may be a committee meeting.
And you don't have to vote for it.
True story.
Well, no, I worked on the other one and I support this.
Okay.
So if there's another conversation, I move policy.
Second reading.
There you go.
So this is the second and final reading, and no further changes. All in favor? And that's everyone. And I'll look forward to seeing the policy regarding all extracurricular activity being addressed, and that's we'll do that at some point.
Excellent.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks, Leslie. And
they're scratched.
Right.
The next policy on the docket is policy 4322.
Right.
Talented and Gifted Program. I don't know if Ms. Evelyn is here. She may speak to this briefly. This is also up for a second reading. We had some conversation about this policy at the first reading. Going through the policies, this is a policy that was enacted in the mid-80s, 84, 86, if I'm not mistaken. 89, there you go. So it's up for a second reading. I don't know if there's any additions you have to that or any questions from the board.
Judy, did you?
I have a question as to why we're doing this.
That's the beauty. You want to respond?
Sure.
Why we're deleting this policy?
Sure. Oh, we're deleting it?
Yeah, we're deleting.
Oh, good, because in the law book it says you don't have to have one.
Yes, that was really what I was going to say.
Okay.
Thanks, Judy.
There you go.
But the other question would be, geez, I was surprised. I didn't know we had a talented and gifted program, and why don't we?
We don't.
So there you go.
Actually, we don't have a talented program here. And as Judy pointed out astutely, that the New York State law does not require that you have one, although we say we have one, right? In terms of how our policy reads.
Yeah.
And so there's a contradiction there that I just think I'm recommending that we rectify as a district.
And we'll have a conversation at some point about a talent and gifted program, I suppose.
I think
that's a difference.
We haven't had discussion now?
No.
No. The item on the agenda is this the second reading regarding deleting this talent and gifted program. Since we do not have a program, we should not have a policy that states that we do. Is that correct, Colin?
That's correct.
There we go. And this was moved before?
Here's the second reading.
Okay.
I don't remember the first.
I don't remember the first one, but that's okay. I don't have to remember.
You're on the policy.
I thought we just talked about it recently, but I guess time flies.
Okay, so,
If it's second reading, it was moved.
supposedly it's already been moved in second in the minutes.
True story. I'll find it.
Our policy committee is saying this is the second reading, and so I'm going to go along with the committee.
Sir.
And all in favor of deletion? That's everyone. Very good.
The next item is the Safe Schools Plan. and this is not up for board votes, but we thought it would be helpful for the board to get a little bit of information about the annual updates of State School Plan, particularly given this year, since we had some things that we were able to learn from. And so I'll turn it over to Dr. Myers and Judy Hall.
Sure. Just as a quick introduction, the Commissioner's Regulations 155.17 through the Department of Education, New York State Department of Education, clearly outlines really like the rules of engagement that schools must operate by as it relates to school safety plans. So in essence, and I won't read the regulations wrote, but they share that school districts every year must review and then update, if necessary, their school safety plans by October 1st. So everything must be in place. And as I shared with the policy committee, this is one area, it certainly is not teaching and learning. You know, it's not about the educational process, but if this particular aspect of our practice is not in place, it's not clear, and we don't have well or clearly articulated information about this, it can be really bad news for schools. And we've seen that with previous cases at both the collegiate and the pre-K through 12 level. So we take this process very seriously. We have a district Safe Schools Committee that meets periodically throughout the year. And it meets in one of two ways, either because they're just going through the work or because a particular situation has occurred in the district, and we really run it through a very intricate process. What's nice about this committee, it's a very diverse committee because it's not just Ithaca City School District educators. We have first responders throughout the community who participate, and they are really very much so vested in the work. And we have made, in my opinion, at least the 4 years I've been here, we've made really good progress as far as understanding what is expected or what occurs in the first responder or emergency responder world. And then likewise, we've been educating what happens in the educational setting. And so we have, I think we really reduced the two ships passing in the night kind of syndrome that can occur when trying to meld these two areas together. So Judy Hoffman, who is our head nurse for the Ithaca City School District, but also facilitates this process, is just going to give you some updates of what we've looked at throughout the school year. Does that work?
That works.
Okay.
Perfectly. So I think hopefully all of you have a copy of the annual report.
I did not send it to Meyer, to apologize.
Okay, no problem. So if you would like a copy, you can certainly get a copy of the annual update and report. And it starts out by acknowledging all the people on the district committee, which I think really is important. Judy Maxwell from the board, so we have board members, Sue Mittler's on the committee, so people certainly within the district, and then people outside in the community, people from the fire department. Tom Parsons is here, but just experts in this area, and really we have developed a good communication and collaboration with those people, which is really critical to making this whole process work. So I feel fortunate that we have that type of communication and collaboration. So in the report, and I'm just going to briefly summarize it, because certainly you can get a copy, but for those people that who might be listening and don't have a copy of this, the major areas in the report, we had 3 pretty significant incidents in the fall, so we debriefed that in the full committee, which was really valuable in terms of looking at those incidents and talking about things that we could do, recommendations for improving what happened. We also really felt it was important this year to look at our lockdown procedures, certainly looking at the increase, like Dr. Meyer said, of violence in the community, in schools, that we wanted to really look at our lockdown procedure and see how, if any changes needed to be made, and we did make some changes. We talked about the tabletop mandated in-service that all administrators do over the summer and what went well through that process and how we can continue staff development for the district, and then future planning. So again, just to summarize briefly what the report contains, the first incident we talked about was the incident with the missing student at LACS, and really looked at what occurred, the sequence of events. Joe Greenberg came to the meeting and reviewed it for everyone. We looked at what went well during it, and then We just looked at what the recommendations were, and through the report, the recommendations are listed, and some of them have already been completed, because actually, as it's been acknowledged by people in the community, that they really are impressed that this district takes it seriously and looks at the recommendations and really works hard to make those changes and put them into practice. So in any event, we highlighted the recommendations and have worked towards getting some of those and some of the recommendations for this incident specifically. Talked about getting two-way radios, making it more clear in terms of attendance for students. They looked at more training around safety issues of hiking and camping. And so there were recommendations that made, and all, I do know that some of them have already been put into place for this annual field trip that will take place next fall. The second incident was about the prank phone call that was made initially actually at the high school on a public phone, but was not easily identified where. So law enforcement came through and did a sweep of actually the board building first, and then the high school, and they had loaded firearms, which certainly caught the attention of the people that were in those buildings. And there was an issue about communication, because as law enforcement tells us on this committee, their first responsibility is to protect lives and safety. And so they just immediately came over and were looking for whatever incident or possible situation was occurring. And so the communication about that they were coming through the buildings or even starting here did not happen, and none of the buildings were put into lockdown. Actually, the board building, after they came through, was then put into lockdown. So we worked on that. We actually are continuing to work on that. John Barber from IPD met with the principal at the high school, so they brainstormed about how this can be handled differently. Recommendations were, and this is in process, creating a database for all district phones so they can be easily identified where they are. Look at the communication. We talked about law enforcement actually being able to put a building into lockdown or the district into lockdown if they felt it was necessary. So that came up in conversation. We talked about identifying a special phone line in all the buildings, and we're still talking about that. And I mentioned at the policy committee meeting as well that one of the really important aspects of our whole plan, which we are more and more and talking about technology, is including IT in this process and looking at all the ways that they can support this being a really good plan and supporting whatever needs to be an emergency response. So that's also being very seriously addressed. The third incident was the flooding incident that happened December 1st, and Paul Alexander, the Director of Facilities, really summarized that incident and all of the things that occurred and things we needed to learn from that incident. And again, many of the recommendations have been put into place. One of the, I guess, problems during that incident was the blocked sluiceway across the street. The term I learned through this incident. But in any event, that there was not a good way to get the city to come and initially respond quickly. So now they have exchanged emergency contacts. So we have all of their contacts if this should happen, or we need them for whatever their support would be, and they have all of our contacts. So again, that's another way just to help with the communication and with getting the response that you need in a timely manner. Then we did, and I have included in the packet, we did update our lockdown procedure, and actually to do that, we initially started with, we have a subcommittee that meets more regularly than the full committee, and the subcommittee was trying to really work through how to change it, but that we decided we needed to have people that were really experts throughout law enforcement throughout the state. So those people came to a separate meeting. They were invited, and the attendance is remarkable. So again, people really do take this very seriously and think it is important that school districts, public school districts, get the support and protect the safety and the lives of the people in this institution. So they were the ones that really generated the recommendations that we've made through the new lockdown procedure. And I guess just the basic summary is that they really wanted to make sure that it was consistent throughout our district, that different buildings didn't have different codes or keywords or whatever, and that it was just simple and easy to follow. So really that was the main focus of changing that lockdown procedure. And then it ends with just, oh, and the other thing that we talked about in terms of improving the communication with an incident going on within the district is to look at the flow chart that Dr. Myers put together a couple of years ago and look at how we can change, if we need to change that. And what was decided is if an incident occurs in the district, in the past we really tried to figure out, so who in the district, what administrator, what building, what family, what community member, the board needs to be identified, who needs to be communicated about that. And what we decided is, really if an incident is occurring in our district, not everybody necessarily needs to be involved or respond or do something, but everybody should be aware of it. So that was the main focus of changing the flow chart, and we created a district emergency support committee so that, so they would be also notified of that, and if we needed their support in any way to go to the building or get extra support or help out in any way. So those were two other significant changes. And then I think we changed the lockdown to continue looking at communication as a part of this plan, and look at what the summer training will be this upcoming summer. So you don't have the report, so I can't ask you questions from it. I apologize.
No, that was excellent, Judy.
Yeah.
Any questions, Jay?
So one of the recommendations you had was to do lockdown practice things 3 times a year, is that?
Thank you. So yes, we have previously required that every building do a lockdown once a year, and what we learned through just trying to evaluate people's knowledge and the actual practice of them, that we really felt like they needed to do it more frequently. Certainly we do fire drills a lot, and people have those really well perfected and consistent throughout the district, but we really felt in order to make sure that people can as easily and consistently respond to the lockdown, that we increase it from once a year to 3 times a year, and that we require the last 2. They can do it for all 3, but we require the last 2 that law enforcement also be there and participate in the lockdown. So thanks for reminding me of that.
And another major recommendation, if not Marsing, is trying to put some sort of PA system back into this building as well, right? Or some sort of communication system into the board building?
Correct.
We found that was a problem during a couple of...
Well, definitely during the flood, because the major impact was here, and to be able to communicate quickly and easily through this building is still a challenge because there's no PA.
Rather than yelling.
That is a recommendation, or blowing whistles.
I scanned it quickly, so I'm not sure if I read this piece right or not, but in the lockdown, one of the pieces there was make sure there's no phone calls from the room.
Right.
And was that like all cell phones or the wall phone in the room?
Any phone calls.
So when I thought about that, that strikes me as that's going to be difficult, because one of the cultural things now is, oh my God, I'm in the middle of whatever,
right.
And everybody's doing that now, from Tahrir Square to wherever. So what was the discussion around that?
So again, another reason that we need to practice and really educate everybody that's involved, staff and students, about the importance of not making phone calls during a lockdown. You don't want any noise, any talking, anything that's going to draw attention, any way of tracking that there's people, where they're located or anything like that, is my understanding. Oh, Mike's here.
Nicely said.
So that's a recommendation from law enforcement?
Yes.
I get
Yes.
the logic, I just wonder if it's realistic.
Questioning the reality.
Right, and we have that struggle.
To be part of the piece.
Yeah, we have that struggle with, you're right, all emergencies that we have in terms of really trying to not just limit, but get the information accurate. So people get on their cell phones and then all of a sudden you have a different problem because, the hysteria has escalated, the information is inaccurate. So, again, another part that we are continuing to work on, and we really have not completed this. started the work, is developing how we communicate, having a public information officer, how that information is communicated quickly, accurately. I forget what Beth said about, it has to be
Concise.
like in 2 minutes, 2 sentences, 2 whatever. It's like really brief.
Yeah.
So we are still working on that. But you're right, that is definitely an issue, and I think, the more we can try and educate students and staff about why that just really would be detrimental to everybody's health and safety, to their safety. I don't know if you have any thoughts about.
Well, my thought is, I think you're standing in the middle of a tidal wave. I don't think it's realistic. I don't think it's correct. And so, rather than trying to stop it, my gut tells me I think we need to figure out how to get through the crisis, assuming it's going to happen.
Okay.
So I think it's a safer assumption that somebody, and probably multiple people, are going to be on their cell or texting. And so then what, rather than putting all our effort into stopping it? That's just what my gut tells me, having done planning before.
So I think I understand what you're saying, and I think it's still, I'm feeling, although I'm certainly open to, and all the decisions we make are through discussions like this, and certainly the people that are experts in the area, but my feeling is we still have to say, do not use your cell phone, but maybe also be prepared and have a plan for how we're going to respond to when people are using their cell phone.
Yeah. Dr. Brown wanted to weigh in.
If there was a crisis in right now, I would be inclined before this conversation to reach for my cell phone or iPad or laptop and everything else. But now after hearing what would happen if I did that, I'm thinking I wouldn't. So I think that's the conversation to have with our young people and staff around why you wouldn't do that. Because no, I won't. Well, I need some more conversation around it, but I'm thinking I won't do it. But I wouldn't know that without having this conversation.
I'm not calling anybody, so...
I think the problem also is the mother or the father that calls in. And,
Where are you, what are you doing?
Yeah, how are you?
Right, and we have definitely had quite a few conversations about how you deal with, if you're parent and guardian, you want to get to your child. So that is definitely a thing that we need to continue working on. That was part of our training last summer, but we got so involved in conversations about actual incidents, which we found very helpful, that we didn't get to really have a lot of conversation around that, and I hope to continue it this summer. But that's a very good point.
And there's been a lot of study regarding past incidents across the country, and that they're drawing from those incidents, correct?
Correct.
And Helen, go ahead.
I think that this conversation needs to be had with students a lot of it, also explaining the importance of the reality of these lockdown drills, because every single lockdown drill that I've experienced in the high school has been, okay, we're going into lockdown, the teacher continues teaching, or if the teacher does not continue teaching, kids start joking around and fooling around and texting or playing games or just talking, and no one takes it seriously. So I think if this is going to be done 3 times a year and actually taking that time, it needs to be a reality check for kids and for students at least, this is why this is important that we're doing this.
Exactly.
And even for teachers, because most teachers just teach.
Right.
And I think that's why it's important having law enforcement or some other emergency responder, that if that happens, we have another person to help us out to say, this is not good practice, and this, you continue to teach and to give us feedback. Absolutely.
No, I'm glad you brought that up. That is really important.
Elder, go ahead then, Josh.
In several movies, quite a few movies, these devices are the hero now. So you're not only flying in the face of young people whose instincts don't pick this up. That's a message that's being sent from the cell phone saving them when they get shot because it's in their pocket, to the laptop being on in the train station so the authorities can see the bad guys. I can think of at least 5 movies where this saved the day. So if you're going to have that, if you're going to have a conversation with them to go against their instincts, it's going to have to be based on the reality of professionals who know the situations on the ground. The message they're getting is the exact opposite.
Josh, Sean, Wendy.
I mean, I think part of the thing that we can communicate to kids and to parents, which, I mean, I'm thinking to my own family 16 months ago, right? My daughter was in an awful accident. She's reaching for her cell phone. And to call me. And I think the difference here is communicating to kids that when we're already in lockdown, somebody is taking care of you, and somebody you can trust is taking care of you, right? And communicating the same thing to parents. Somebody you can trust is taking care of your children right now. But and even so, I don't think that message is going to stand up against, frankly, the instinct to reach out directly to the person who I know loves me most and has been protecting me. I think our planning is probably well spent to assume it's going to happen and then figure out how we're going to work with that.
But yet and still hold the expectation. I mean, articulate the expectation.
I think so, but I wonder about it. You know, I can think of a bunch, we don't have to have the whole conversation here about it, but I can think of maybe it's tell your mom you're okay. I'm okay, and I can't talk to you anymore because I'm not sure it's safe. But, you know, I don't know exactly, but...
Talk about technology, right? I'm sure at one point in time it was hard to get us to go in single file lines during a fire drill. We had to change that culture, right? And so this is a new culture with the shift. If the law enforcement folks are telling us to do this, then by all means, I think that's what we communicate, and then we work about the rest of it afterwards. But what I would dare say is that, I know this is an ongoing committee, I would respectfully say if these are the conversations that you want to engage in while we go read the committee and continue this conversation elsewhere, and I'll, with respectfully letting Wendy ask her question, but then I'd like for us to move on if we could, please.
No, it was just a response to how I thought our fire drill lockdown went. I think as opposed to other years where I've definitely been a part of it, this year was really serious. I saw like policemen there, and it was definitely a new vibe. It was definitely like, this is severe. Like, you are in a locked room right now, or not. I guess it wasn't supposed to be locked, but we had to put tables in front of in front of doors. We all had to sit on the floor with like our hands over our heads, and it was very scary. And I think that a lot of the ACS students understood that. I mean, my family group definitely understood that. Sorry, that's not family group, but I think that if we did, like what Helen is saying, if we told the students how crucial it was to not use their phones, I think that the fact that someone could track you in the building, I think that's a pretty large fear. I mean, of course, we don't know how we would act in this type of incident, so we might just out of just what we would do, grab our phones and be like, I need help. So I completely agree with Josh as well. So it's definitely, I think we need to look at both sides of that still.
Thanks, Wendy.
Change technology. I am old enough to even have bomb stuff. I'm telling you, without question, right? So I'm that old. So thank you so much for making that happen.
I would echo Sean. It was practice getting under your desk. But,
and we'll try to put this, I'll make sure the board gets the same school plans, and we'll get out to some other folks from there.
Thanks, Judy. Thanks, Leslie.
One last bit. Yes. One last bit. I think I know we're almost done here. The last bit is Dr. Brown has sent me recently a BOE service to sort of update our policies. There's been some conversation with folks about the policy committee, not just the policy committee, about sort of getting out agendas and things of that nature, but we will be hopefully sometime soon finding a way in which we'll hire a service, a BOE service, which would be aidable even to keep our policy book updated, and that way we don't have to worry about as much. We'll create the digital copy for us as well. So we'll explore that. We think it's actually relatively reasonable, relatively speaking, for other things, and we think we can find the money. You think you can find the money this year? Yeah. And we'll try to make that happen. So more information about that will come to the board members.
That's more or less in-house.
Yes, yes.
We consider BOCES, that's a lot of what we do, so that's good. Sean, are we good?
That's it.
So the last item is the international field trip to Montreal, which indeed is into a foreign country. So apparently this was brought in to... Yeah. Does anyone want to speak to this? Or?
I'll move the resolution as it was printed.
Thank you. Do we need to speak to it? This is a trip that has happened in the past, I believe.
And they're not taking any instructional days off. It's Friday afternoon, Saturday, and Sunday. So.
Yeah. Are we
It's been moved.
Are we good? All in favor? I believe that's everyone, and off to Montreal. Reprise, anyone? No one? Okay, so any other business by board members? I do know there's facilities meeting Thursday?
Thursday at 4:30.
4:30. We'll be discussing a variety of subjects.
Ad hoc budget tomorrow, HR next week.
And
There will think there will road show tomorrow night. I'm going to be at that.
Caroline, I'm doing on
Yeah, so I'm going to be there.
Right, Dr. Brown will be at Enfield tomorrow at 5:30 talking about the budget, and I will be there too.
I was planning to go to that.
and I'll be doing the budget road show at Caroline on
Is it 5:30?
Thursday at 7. Anybody who wants to come and help is more than welcome.
All right, and so budget presentation, Enfield at 5:30, then candidate forum at 7 o'clock, I believe, at LACS in the Black Box Theater. Hopefully, if there's no water running through the place, we'll be good. And nothing sparking. So are we good? So Judy Maxwell has moved that we adjourn, and without objection, we are adjourned.